Good afternoon, everyone. It's Anita Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, my contemplative time this morning has been all about Dharma. And I don't know if you've heard this word before, but Dharma is something that people are speaking more and more about these days, and certainly in the circles that I'm paying attention to, I guess. But I suspect you've heard this word before. And essentially, it's actually quite a large concept, but it's essentially your purpose in life, or our purpose in life. And it's interesting that there's two philosophies that use this term most often that I've seen. Although there's three, I'll say Jainism, Hinduism, and Buddhism actually use this term pretty regularly. And it's interesting to contemplate this because I love thinking about these things about what calls to us, right? So, do you know, I mean, I can love music, but it's not my dharma to play it. I love to listen to it. I love to sing with it. I love to dance with it. But there will be a person whose true calling is playing music or singing. And it's so interesting to look into ourselves to see, are we following our dharma? And it's interesting that both Buddhism and Hinduism talk about this being as kind of a universal truth. There is this essence of truth in, yes, this is my calling. And you would know, whatever you might do, that you just feel, wow, this is so easy for me, or this is so right. This just feels right. So, right action would fall into this. And I remember I had written a newsletter about the golden rule, and I guess this would fall into the same sort of idea. And you might have heard of the golden rule, but I'll put a link to at least a video or my newsletter just under this video for you to look at. And what I like to do is to make sure that we're noticing the similarities between things. So maybe that's part of my dharma is I really like that we understand that most religions and most spirituality is actually talking about the exact same thing through different language. And sometimes there's the philosophical debates that will come up about this is more right because of this or that. And it's okay for mental fun, I'm going to say, intellectual fun. But it's really missing the point of spirituality or religion when we're trying to one up. This is more right, because that to me brings in ego. And I would say all of these traditions also have a commonality of overcoming the ego, right? So the ego in our human mind, our human perspective, and this is better, or this is not as good, or that's not as good. All of that is kind of transcended in this idea of dharma. And so I came across a few quotes that I thought I'd share with you. And one is by David Frawley, and he writes this. He says, Hinduism is not about joining a church, but about developing respect for all beings, not only humans, but plants and animals as well. It is not about a particular holy book, but about understanding our minds and hearts. It is not about a savior, but about discovering the divine presence within us. The divine presence within us. And I'm going to say that's also a truth that every religion and spirituality that I have come across, or at least looked into carefully, shares. This is a commonality that's shared, that there is something divine in every single person. And then we've got our own equipment to work from, right? So my own experience, and if you think of past lives, there's going to be some we'll say karma that affects my dharma. But it's also this form, this mind, so this life experience, this particular life, that I'm aware that these are the experiences that have happened in my life that make this mind think this way, make this heart feel this way, make this human behave this way, right? So that sort of idea. And then, of course, we can modify and improve as we go along if we choose to. So I thought I would talk also about Buddhism because I came across this beautiful quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. And this quotation said, there is a misconception that Buddhism is a religion and that you worship Buddha. You can be a Christian and practice Buddhism. I met a Catholic priest who lives in a Buddhist monastery in France. He told me that Buddhism makes him a better Christian. I love that. Isn't that a beautiful quotation? And to me, everyone who moves into this space of transcendence, so going beyond the transformation of the day to day experience and moving into something higher, something that calls to your heart, which works on an energetic level that I know that we all feel. Some of us are more in tune with how we're feeling and how we're receiving those energies and those um, instinctive uh, guidances, I'm going to say. So from within, something from within that just tells me I am following this because this draws me. So for me, yes, education is a big part in that, and then in terms of healing is always a big part too. So in naturopathic medicine, one of the principles of naturopathic medicine, when I was practicing as a naturopathic doctor, but still following today mentally, the learning isn't forgotten, right? So one of the principles is doctor as teacher. And I always loved that perspective because I love to teach clients. So I continue to teach clients and hopefully teaching the public through some of these videos. And then I wanted to finish today with a quote by Rabindranath Tagore. And you might have heard of this person. He was a fantastic author, poet. I understand a musician too. So all of these things. So they're quite a deep thinker. And before I finish this video with this quotation, I'd love for you to sit for 5 minutes and think about, are you following your Dharma? Like, is there some calling, some action that you're doing? Maybe it's kindness, right? Maybe I love kindness. And this is part of those universal truths, right? Kindness, love, compassion, the golden rule, right? So that sort of idea, those things fall into our calling. It's that inherent divine nature within us. And I'd love for you to see where you practice that way. So is it in your thoughts? Is it in your words? Is it in your actions? And I hope it is in all three. And so this quotation, which I absolutely love, of course, says this: the higher nature in man always seeks for something which transcends itself and yet is its deepest truth, which claims all its sacrifice, yet makes this sacrifice its own recompense. This is man's dharma, man's religion, and man's self is the vessel. And so I hope that puts together what I just finished saying, that again, I can look at someone else and something that they're doing and think, wow, that's so amazing. I wish I could do that. And if it's not my nature, my dharma, it's not coming through this form, it won't be so easy for me to copy that, I'll say. It won't be my own, right? It's not really my truth, right? So I'd love for you to sit for 5 minutes to see, are you transcending the day-to-day experience to understand your own nature and then act from that space? I wish that you do, and I know that that is such a heart-filling space. Imagine when a musician is playing, you can see how in love with that they are, or a painter is making a new painting and so in love with that creation. What happens when we're doing our dharma is the more time you spend in it, it seems like time flies, right? It's just so enjoyable, it's so natural, it's so fantastic. You will know when you're there, and if you need any help or guidance, you know I'm here. For now, I wish you a fantastic day ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.